Hey, Bublynn, coming in, crushing this art. All right, I wanted to do a video talking about Gemini moon because we never finished this series yet, and Capricorn sun, right? So if we straight up think about this is someone that's going to be more interested in real physical things versus more ethereal, maybe like meta type things. And maybe they are interested in meta things because those are concepts, but I feel like it's just like the fire in the water is going to be a more emotionally geared person, right? Where they're more driven by things that are like more associated with inspiration, or like, oh, like my soul is telling me this, blah, blah, blah. But earth and air are going to be more practical. Like earth is like, no, this just makes sense. And so is air in a way. It's just air is more about trying new things that make sense, whereas earth is about like sticking with what made sense, you know? So anyway, yeah, this will be acting in a way where it like you're building sense on yourself. So like if we think about Capricorn versus Cancer, this is expanding on yourself. Like you're always trying to like, that's why it associates with that's why it associates with reputation, because it's like if you're expanding yourself, like versus figuring out who you are, it's like Cancer on the other side is going within and then uncovering who you are, right? And actually like mothering that and nurturing that, whereas like Capricorn is like protruding that. Capricorn is expressing that through the world, through physicality and stuff like this. So basically, yeah. So basically, a lot of your actions are geared towards the external world, the physical world, things like reputation, things like job, things like actually physically manifesting what I'm passionate about, right? And going for that, like not going back to who you are, like going for your dreams, going for new dreams, things like this. Yeah, because Cancer would be more in the past. And even though Earth is past, this is like trying to find new things that you can connect to, like a new identity or a new things like that. So that would be the Capricorn sun, right? This would be cardinal new Earth, new responsibility, right? And then we also have the rulership of Earth. So this would be dealing with circumstance, dealing with expressing yourself through living circumstance, right? And then we have the yeah, I think that's about it. And then we have the Mars exaltation, right? So we know that this is a more liberal, like this is trying to, and it's cardinal, right? So it's trying to go out there and express something versus the opposition ruled by Moon, Cancer, going in, right? So this is almost like, it is still very personal, but it's bringing that out into the world in a practical way. Like, how can I physically express myself in a way that makes sense, that people can just see it for what it is, right? There's no question about it. I'm here every day. This is my 9 to 5. There's like, it's just what it is, you know? So that's kind of like, and you're trying to find ways, right? That's how you act, is your actions, like your liberal life, like your day life. A lot of the things that like are associated with that is actually like developing senses of responsibility, security, and structure, right? So yeah. So now that we have that covered, if we think a little bit more about the Gemini moon, right? So this is someone that's coming from a place where they're always trying to make new things happen, but they're not trying to cross any boundaries, right? Like this is someone that would love gossip because everyone's into it, and it doesn't necessarily seem like they're crossing any boundaries, but it's still like new and it's still kind of crazy, right? I'm not saying that Gemini would love gossip. That's just an example because of the active element of air, just like fire, but it's also wet like water. So it's also receptive. It doesn't want to do things on its own. It wants to be a part of something. It wants it to be recognized, like it can't recognize itself. It needs that kind of external support, and then it will work off of that. So yeah, so you're coming from a place where it's mutable, right? You're coming from a place where you just want to work off of things for what they are, right? And figuring out what they are. It's kind of like Gemini, just like wanting to know a little bit of everything, not wanting to stick with any, because then you're kind of limited, right? It's like you always want to expand yourself. You always want to find new ways to think about things. Yeah, you're coming from a place where you just want new things to happen, right? But you don't want it to be too crazy. And maybe you get sucked into situations that become crazy. Maybe they didn't start crazy because this is an air sign. Maybe you attract situations that start out as like gossip, but then that actually ends up having some real detriment to teach you about maybe what you should and should not play with verbally, right? But anyway, you're coming from a place where you always want new things to happen, but you want it to act like it's going with the flow, right? That's like the situation you're going to be in, versus someone who always wants to stick with what they know and wants to go with their flow, right? You're coming from a place where you just want to stick with like what's going on, and then you want to make new things happen based off that, right? So that's air, that's where you're coming from. And then this is seen as Capricorn. This is seen as someone who's going out there to develop sense of structure and security, right? And initiate their sense of structure and security. So this would be like someone who kind of like seems like a word guru, right? Because they're able to kind of like get to know a little bit of everything and bring them all together. It's almost like you could think about a translator could be like this type of person, because the Capricorn element would be like, oh, I'm going to initiate something like a form of stability, a form of ground. That would be like every time, like when you express yourself in the world that you need to translate for somebody, right? And you're coming from a place where you're going with the flow, right? People need this. And also you're creating new things, like you're making, you're active, right? Air, like fire and air active. You're making something happen where you're bringing the two parties that couldn't communicate, and now you're allowing them to communicate because of your knowledge, right? And then you gain because of this, like a position, right? You have a responsibility in earth, right? And you get to create something, right? The cardinality. This is with how you express yourself, what is it? Reputationally wise, like earth, right? So yeah, that would just be an example. So if we just sum up, right? You're coming from a place where you just want to be relatable, right? Like truly you don't want to be, like stuck to one thing, right? Because you wanna make people happy, or you just want to go with the flow, but at the same time you act in a way that is dry, that does stick with one thing, to where eventually you do pick something and you got to like work from there, but maybe you're still like, well, I know I could have gone either way, right? And then so yeah, and so then you're acting in a way where, yeah, you're just going to act that way. Like once you're developing things that will just work, right? Just have a sense, just have a structure, and then you're sticking to that. But you're always willing to develop something new. So anyway, yeah, that's a little bit about Gemini moon, Capricorn sun. Lit. Bublynn, Sitra, beach out.